thank you all to every small business and all of you that have joined us this afternoon. Thank you again. This is our fourth and final of the 2020 BidFit webinar series. As you may remember, I am Karen Hollis. I am the individual that has been charged by the City of Miramar to develop and implement the Business Inclusion and Diversity Program. This is the program whereby the city seeks to offer programs and services to small businesses in the realm of outreach and education, monitoring and compliance. Paul, if you can go to the next page. And a lot of business development. This is an extension of that program. In terms of the program bid itself, it was devised by a diversity study that was conducted by the City of Miramar. Next page, please. And we have a pledge to never, ever exclude any business from participation in or deny any owner the benefit of anything in terms of performance or trying to have opportunities to contract with the city. The goal of the BID program is to uphold the highest standards of inclusion and equal opportunity and non-discriminatory practices. That is the key and the core of who we are and what we do. So how do we do that? Next page, please. We do that through monitoring and compliance, outreach education, contractor database, which you'll hear a little more about, and the minority data collection. We are here. Who are we as BID? We're the one that we come up with the strategies to educate, connect, and help small, local, minority, and disadvantaged businesses within the City of Miramar and the Tri-County area to grow. Next page, please. And so in terms of connecting, you may have tuned into our previous webinars where we do the BID Connect, and we will be bringing that back again in the 2021 year. We also do, next slide, please, a host of different things to be able to help small businesses grow, from everything by connecting them to all of the available grants and things that are being made available through the COVID-19. You'll hear briefly a little more about that today, and a lot of different things in terms of connecting with our stakeholders. And that's a perfect introduction for me to say to you, we have an amazing panel of stakeholders and small business owners and community partners that have joined us today. I want to not hold back anymore, but I want to go forward with making sure that we get this amazing panel to you. We're starting with Miramar. Very seldom do we start with Miramar. Usually we introduce and allow our other speakers to go first, but this year, today for our final one, we're going to start with Miramar. I see Brenda has joined us. Hello, Brenda Martin. She is with the procurement team. She's the contract administrator manager for the procurement department here at the City of Miramar, and she is going to be discussing the library of consultants. Brenda, have you joined us? No, she's still having technical difficulties, so we're going to start with Leah, the City of Miramar Senior Project Engineer. Now, we wanted Leah to be involved in this panel because she's in charge of all of the Surtax transportation capital improvement projects that's going to be made available. And so I'm going to let Leah talk a little bit more about that. Leah, if you could take it away. Thank you so much. You've been faithful with us through all 4 sessions. And now I want you to tell the businesses once again a little more about these upcoming Surtax projects. Take it away, Leah.
Thanks so much, Karen. We have at the City of Miramar 4 upcoming projects this year that are funded through the Broward County Surtax program. The first of the project is the Pembroke Road extension to US 27 and the Miramar Parkway extension to Pembroke Road. This is a design services contract. So for all my designers out there, this is you. It's the conversion from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, from Dykes Road to 196th Avenue along Pembroke Road, and then a new roadway from 196 all the way out to US 27. It also is the extension of Miramar Parkway from 192nd Terrace up north to meet Pembroke Road. The scope of this project is the design of the new roadway, so it's going to include roadway widening, landscape, irrigation, asphalt, roadway lighting, noise wall, and a few utilities that we desire as a city to put in. This project in particular has a 30% CBE and SBE requirement. So for you firms who are small businesses out there, this is a great opportunity for you guys to get involved either as a prime or as a sub to another consultant. The second project that we have coming up is the bus shelter design project. This is a design project for 13 bus shelters citywide. It'll include a small and a large shelter component. And then we have two bike lanes projects that are coming up for you guys as well. It's the Pembroke Road Bike Lanes project from Palm to Douglas, which includes buffered bike lanes, milling and resurfacing. That is a design project as well. And then we have the Pembroke Road buffered bike lanes from State Road 7 to Island Drive. Island Drive is just south of Perry Airport. This particular scope is buffered bike lanes, but it's a planning project. Now, for most of these projects, except that planning project of the buffered bike lanes from Road 7 to Island Drive, all of the rest of these projects are design projects. The construction scope for those of you who are contractors out there will follow in a year to 2 years. So Pembroke Road extension, the first project that you see on your screen there, that's the largest project. So that construction scope will follow in about 2 years. And then for the rest of the projects in about 1 year. Now, notice that the last three projects on your screen, the bus shelter improvements and the design and the planning project for the buffered bike lanes, those have no CBE or SBE requirement. But for all my CBE and SBE firms out there, please still, we welcome and encourage you guys to bid on these jobs. So that's it from me. Back to you, Dr. Karen.
Thank you so much, Leah. And I know you're having, for the firms that are on board, if you are attending for the very first time, some of the slides may not be as clear, and for you to be able to zoom in, every slide that's made available this afternoon and that's being provided by all of our panel members will be made available to you. We will be sending a thank you for attending. And in that thank you to attending, we will be allowing you an opportunity to review and carefully have in your database and in your bank of information all of the presentations that are being presented today. And so do not worry. Thank you so much, Leah. You've been so fantastic throughout this series. It was very, very important to the city leadership to ensure that we let each and every one of these small businesses know about these upcoming Surtax projects and exactly how they can position themselves and their firms to be able to capitalize on it. And so we cannot thank you enough for that. Please, there's a 30% participation goal. We are ensuring and doing all we can to get this information out so that small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses that can participate can take advantage of these opportunities. So many of you have never seen the actual scopes of work. That is why Leah has come on board. We wanted engineering to provide the scope of work so that you can carefully review it and see if you are able to participate in these projects. So please, 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 we'll be sending this information to you, review it carefully, and see if there's a possibility for you to be able to come on board and take advantage of it. Thank you again so much, Leah. Now, next, with our first webinar, we had Broward County, because why? The city of Miramar, we're in Broward. We kicked off the webinar series with BidFit with Broward County. Next, we were really, really fortunate to have Miami-Dade County School Board come in, because I continue to be amazed as to how many businesses do not know and are not familiar with the buying power of the school board. We again have all of these recordings and they're on our website that you can take advantage of, and we'll be providing that information to you. And then our November webinar, we did Palm Beach County, and we wanted the team, and Dickie Sykes and her team came on board and provided all of that information on how you can do business with Palm Beach County and contracting opportunities. Well, today is a treat because we have Miami-Dade County. We have Ms. Lawanda Wright-Robinson with Miami-Dade County. She has been with Miami-Dade County for 17 years. She is the Small Business Development Section Chief. And Ms. Robinson I've been working with her for just about all 17 years. And she worked with her closely when I was on that project, a project with Miami-Dade County. She has a wealth of information. She's come to let you know about the certification process for Miami-Dade County, upcoming contracting opportunities, bonding, and a host of other information. So enough hearing from me. Now let me turn it over to Ms. Lawanda Wright-Robinson. Thank you, Lawanda, for joining us. Please, please, please give all of that wonderful information to our businesses that have signed on with us today. Take it away, Lawanda.
Thank you very much, Karen, for having me. I truly appreciate it. As much as we may be across counties, our businesses do business across counties. So I appreciate you taking the efforts to be inclusive of Miami-Dade County for the city of Miramar. at this point. So how does anybody do business with Miami-Dade County? And it's fairly simple as it is with the other public sector entities. Next slide. And so one of the first things that anyone should do, and we have registered vendors, and the vendor can be located anywhere as a Miami-Dade County vendor, and there are three basic steps to do business with the county in general. And so that's registering as a vendor, which is an online process. It's a free online process. It's very simple. Ask basic questions about the business. You will register under the correct commodity codes for the service or good that you provide. And once you do that, you can then register in BidSync, which is now, I believe, called Periscope. You can register with BidSync, and this is how you will receive those competitive solicitations through the Strategic Procurement Division. And this is no charge to you. So even though BidSync is a system that sells leads, Miami-Dade County has purchased a program with them, well, a system with them that basically on the basic service, which is a free service, you will not be charged and you'll be able to receive bid solicitations from Miami-Dade County for goods and services and architectural engineering firms. And then you want to always search for pre-qualified pool contracts. And I tell my clients, this is your easy work. This is where you can find out, you can get most of your contracts from when you're looking at the pre-qualified pools. Next slide. And so sometimes we don't think about what the county or our public entity is interested in buying in the future. And so we have on the strategic procurement website a link for future solicitations. And so this is where the county is now engaging you as the industry experts to say, hey, you know, this is what we're interested in buying or doing. Give us some feedback. What is the industry saying that's happening? It may be a forecast that another county department is putting out there in possible future contracts. And we just want feedback from the public to say, hey, that's not a good idea. Maybe what you guys are proposing is obsolete, is something that we no longer do in that industry, or there may be an added way to do something. And so future solicitations is a great place to see what we have upcoming. Then we have vendor workshops, and these workshops are free. They were in person before the pandemic, but they will start back up soon. And what this workshop is, it talks about the invitation to bid, the request for proposals and quotes from a goods and service standpoint and an architect and engineering standpoint. It doesn't go into specific details about a specific bid, but it gives you the very basic general terms and understanding that every vendor that's doing business with a county should understand. So this is a great workshop to get a general understanding. And then if you have more in-depth questions about a particular bid, then we always recommend you contact that procurement officer or the contracting officer. Now, everybody says, oh, I do business with the county, or I've tried to do business with the county. I've been on some things and they've left it high and dry. Wrong. Whether it's Miami-Dade County, school board, Broward, whomever, always look at what we've done, what we've awarded. Two reasons. First, before you do business with the county, you want to look at awarded contracts because you want to see, are we buying what you're selling? Do we buy the service? Do we buy that good, that widget? You know, do we buy that? And if so, when was the last time we bought it? At what cost? Who was the vendors? Who was awarded that contract? That's the first thing before you do business with it. Once you start doing business with the county and you want to either expand or you want to get a good feel on a particular project you have been watching for the last couple of years, go back to that awarded contracts, especially in, for example, promotional items. If you've noticed, every time United Way comes, that time of year comes, and you want to provide a particular service to the county, go and look and see what those promo items, what those services were, and who was awarded, and what that contract looked up. Everything we do is public records. Look it up, ask the questions, get a good feel for it, and awarded contracts will give you a great idea as to what we've been buying, what we've stopped buying, what we're looking to buy. Next slide. Now, the division that I work for, Small Business Development, we were created to promote all small businesses in Miami-Dade County. And we have several administrative orders and ordinances that we are governed by. The program is to grow and economically and sustain our local businesses. At the moment, anyone could do business with the county. There have been times when we said, oh, we didn't want to do certain industries, but things have evolved in the last few years, and I can honestly say we buy everything from pens to helicopters to trains to you name it, the county buys it. So small business development is always trying to carve out opportunities for our local small businesses. Next slide. And so one of the things we have is just like Broward, SB certification. And the certification is important to our Dade County vendors from a standpoint of there's a mandatory 10% spending across the Miami-Dade County with those. However, those Broward vendors, if you're Broward, physically located in Broward, and you don't have a physical location in Dade County, you can still be a registered vendor and do business with the county. You can also do business with the county from a local business standpoint because we consider Broward businesses a local business. And so our small business certification we have in construction, goods and services, and architectural engineering. It is a free certification, 3-year certification that you annually submit proof that you're still eligible to be in the program because it's based on gross receipts. It's not a minority program. And so we want to look at your 3-year gross receipts. We want to look at your local business tax receipt to see, what have you registered to say you're doing your business as, having a physical location in Dade County. And then we also look at the personal net worth of each owner, because we want to make sure that you're not some big conglomerate that have just come around and now, purchase a small business and now you're trying to come in and get all these benefits and kudos from being an SB firm. So we do our due diligence. Next slide. And so as we do our due diligence, one of the main things we think about is, how can we help you as a business in any business trying to do business with the county government? And that's where I specifically come in addition to recruiting small businesses, is providing management and technical assistance. Myself and my team, we help you with the certification process before and afterwards. We provide a one-on-one needs assessment meeting and technical assistance. And what that consists of is, we'll sit down with you and say, okay, what is it that you want to sell to the county? And we'll check and make sure that's something that we buy. And then we'll say, well, this is what has been working. These are your best practice and pitfalls that we're going to recommend. These are the departments that are buying that. If you are on a contract, we want to make sure that you understand what it means to stay in compliance, assisting you with payment issues and contract issues. If they're just general questions and all, we help you with every aspect of doing business with the county government. And so as a local business here in Miami-Dade County or in Broward in general, there's so much that this county is a large maze, but we don't want anyone doing it by themselves. And so that's what our job is, to help you navigate that maze. And of course, we do outreach events like this. We put on our own outreach events. There are times when I was recently asked to do a recruiting outreach for a specific project that's coming up. The prime contractor wants to engage certain businesses in certain industries. And so we'll do that for them because we want to make sure they're not bringing people from Tampa. We want to make sure they're not bringing people from Georgia. We want to make sure they're keeping people from South Florida using the businesses here. And so we do those type of outreach logistics for them also. And so anything that's assisting the business in general, because I'm not going to limit you to a box. I'm going to always advise you on other opportunities. So what I get from Palm Beach or what I get from Broward, I will share with our local businesses and vice versa. Next slide. And so when we talk about those pre-qualified pools and contract opportunities, this is just a snapshot. When you go to the strategic procurement website, and you can click on pre-qualified pools, this is everything that we have a pool for. And what I want to make note is the first 4 or 5, they're very different. You have kitchen paper, disposable paper supplies. You got hurricane shutters, you got plumbing equipment, energy, seamless money things, and passenger loading bridges. So stuff, any and everything you could think of. But what's important is the start date of that pool and the ending. And why is that important? We are in 2020, right? The first one does not expire until 2022. That means a small business, certified or not, if it's open to the general public, can still get in that pool and take advantage of opportunities for the next 2 more years. So these type of opportunities, they exist. And so that's why I say your pre-qualified pools can be your best friends. They can be your busy work. You can apply to several different pools as long as you have the capacity for what they're asking for, you meet the requirements. And as they, on a spot check, as they need certain items, you'll be solicited only in that group. not with hundreds or thousands of vendors, only the folks in that group. So there's like a short list. And so your pools become your best friends. I definitely recommend looking into the listing and seeing if anything has not expired that you can provide service for and registering with that. And it gives you the contracting officer and their number for you to reach out to them. Next slide. And so in BidSync, when you go, if you're not already familiar, and I know school board is using BidSync now, and I believe Broward is using BidSync. So we're all slowly but surely, if I don't know if everybody's recognized, getting on the same page. We all have business to government now. We are using BidSync now. So we're slowly but surely getting on the same page and using the same systems, which is going to make it easier for the businesses here in South Florida. And so BidSync is very simple. You see a contract, you're interested, you need to download it. You download it because if anything changes, you'll be notified through that application. If there's an addendum that comes out with the dates, changing of the bid due date, if there's requirements as for the specs that are changed, it'll be through an addendum through BidSync. And once again, that's for our A&E contracts and our goods and service contracts. There's a very few construction that may go through BidSync, but still, you want to make sure you download everything and you adhere to the bid due date and time. Do not wait, because stuff happens with the system. We see what's been happening with technology in the last couple of months because we're all inundating the systems. Apply 2-3 hours before. You can apply the day before. But what I will say is if you apply 3 days before and you make a change, whatever that last change is what they will have in the system. So BidSync can send you a lot of information, but it's a very great tool. Take your time, understand it, and look at the bids. And don't always just go by the name or the commodity code. If it looks interesting, it could be like this one here says police workforce management system. And so you say, okay, that's technology. But there may be a scope of work in there for you to provide the actual materials, the hardware. There may be a service piece in there. And so don't just look at the name and say, that's not for me. But make sure you go in, you read the scope, and you may find there are other pieces in there that they're going to need your services for. Next slide. And so my colleague who can't talk, he's on as a guest, Mr. Carlos and Suarez. In small business development, we have in-house bonding and loan coordinators. And so we provide bonding and financial assistance, which means if a vendor comes and says they're having some financial issues, they want to know what is out there available. Carlos and Anthony are our both bankers. They come from the banking industry. So they know how to build relationships with those banks to see where you are, to assess where you need to be, what's the best fit. Is it going to be a traditional loan? Is it going to be a micro lender? Whatever fits you best is where they're going to refer you. And then if you're maybe not in a position to do that yet, then they'll refer you to the right sources. Bonding, we work with Gladys Keith, who's on this webinar today all the time towards getting bonding assistance for our small businesses in the construction field, anything lending related. And then, they do a lot of understanding, what are the financial statements and stuff that our firms need. And as of recently, playing a key role in, we've had to give out some of the CARES Act money and having a good understanding as to what would the federal government need to see and from a financial standpoint before we give out these grant dollars. And so we have in-house persons that are constantly there to help you with every aspect of doing business with Miami-Dade County government. And so we're here. If you have any questions for us, we'll be around. Karen has our information. She'll share this. And I thank you once again, Karen, for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Lawanda. I cannot, and you see her contact information. As you can see, businesses, this is invaluable information. Our goal, yes, the pandemic is here. Businesses that are caring to survive and thrive in the midst of this pandemic, we are working toward ensuring we provide you with sufficient information to be able to do that adequately. We want you to know the upcoming contracting opportunities. We want you to know and to see not only are there upcoming opportunities, there are pools that you can join at Miami-Dade County. Notice the qualification pools. They had contact information and contact numbers where you can call that person. That's a Miami-Dade County person that can assist you in navigating if you don't understand how to join and what the particulars are of getting involved in those pools, and reach out to that person. These webinars are designed to equip and empower you with sufficient information to get you to act, to get you and ensure that you have everything that you need to position yourself to succeed. Lawanda, we can't thank you enough. Failing to plan, they say, is planning to fail. So we definitely want to make sure that you understand everything. So we do have our own Miramar Procurement Department that has a library pools. And most of the organizations are coming and using pools because these are opportunities and ways in which government agencies are seeing that we can get more inclusion for minority contractors and the smaller micro firms that are not able to compete or to handle those major contracts. So we have from the city of Miramar, Ms. Brenda Martin. She is the contract administrator manager for the procurement department here at the city of Miramar, and she's going to be talking to you and giving you enough information about the city's library pools. Brenda, are you there? Can we hear you now?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, it'd be wonderful if we can see you. It's okay. We've been having technical difficulties, but we are continuing to move forward because we're serious about helping these businesses. Thank you so much, Brenda, for your tenacity and not giving up and joining us today. So take it away and address our businesses about the library pools at the city.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me. I'll make this quick. I know we've got a whole panel to get down there, so don't worry about it. I'll make sure I keep with your timeline. Thank you very much. I am again Brenda Martin, and I am with the procurement department, been with construction and procurement for roughly 20 years now. And I've been with the city for going on 7 years now. So I'm just going to go through quickly the pools and how we utilize them and all the different pools that we have with the city of Miramar. Right now we have the architectural and engineering pool, and that is pretty much for large projects, big construction projects of that sort. We also have a subcontractor pool that is for more smaller projects. These subcontractors also can be subcontractors for the primes that will be taking over large projects. But for specific projects that are small projects in nature, we actually have a subcontractor pool for small vendors who need to do projects, you know, plumbing, electrical, that kind of thing, that are just quick turnaround projects that the city would need. We also have residential and commercial contractor projects, a pool also for residential and commercial contracts that are coming up. Now, next slide, please. For the professional services, that mostly deals with the architectural and engineering projects. And these projects are right now slated to really should be 4 million. And we're still waiting to get the actual confirmation. So those projects are 4 million for the actual construction, 500 for the studies. And I'll let you all know as soon as we get that confirmation, but it should be out any day now for the amounts that these engineering and architectural projects are for. Now, with the actual advantages of the libraries, we have vendors that are, we pre-qualify them, we vet them, they're in the library, they go out on an RFQ, a big RFQ solicitation process, and we vet them and we pre-qualify them and we put them under agreements, standby agreements for up to 3 years. And after that, they're in the library. So it does not require public advertisement. We just advertise to those specific companies that are in the subcategory of the relevant library. So it doesn't need to go out for a major advertisement. So that's the advantage that those vendors have when they're in the library. And of course, it's a quicker process. It's more of an informal process, you know, as opposed to an IFB or RFQ or RFP process. Next slide. Here are where you would advertise. Right now, the library we have all the libraries that are open right now, but we're going to be re-advertising and updating those libraries. So please make sure that you watch out for demandstar.com, the local newspapers. They're going to be advertising between the first and second week of this month. If you want to make sure that you're registered, there's a registration information to register your company as a vendor with the city of Miramar. And of course, with demandstar.com, register on there is for free. So once you get in there, you will keep abreast of all the different advertisements that the city of Miramar sends out there, and you can submit your proposals based on those advertisements. Next slide. So in the library process, we mostly have like RLOIs. We call them requests for letters of interest. RLOIs, most people are familiar with that. It's a quick process where, again, we solicit just the people, the vendors that are in those subcategories. And then we go through the process of evaluating their proposals based on the specific project that we're needing. We do a quick negotiation with that highest scored vendor, issue an agreement for that project, and get that process moving. And we keep going until there's another project. Next slide. There's a consultant evaluation form that we normally use, and that is for projects that are on 75,000, which this process is even quicker than the one that I formerly talked about, because this does not include evaluation and all that. We just evaluate 3 of the top vendors. We find out, what their qualifications that mostly deals with that project, what fits perfectly, and we keep the ball rolling with appeal and go, just keep on going with that project. So this is even quicker than an RLOI process. Next slide. And I'm done.
Well, Brenda, I cannot thank you enough, businesses. Let me tell you what she's referring to. We have developed a webinar series, BitFit. A lot of planning. Paul and I worked very, very hard in planning these webinars. We try to ensure we have Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. We try to ensure we include all of the city's information. Brenda Martin presented and was scheduled to only present at our 3rd webinar. When she came on and introduced this information, which I know and we know within the city is a valuable tool for small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses. And then she alluded that another library for 3 years would be opening between the 2nd and 3rd week of December. I begged her. I said, we are tight for space, but I will squeeze you in. I need you to come back to our next webinar in December. I need us to make this information again relevant and timely so that we can position. One of the things for the diversity study challenged government agencies, ours was particularly directed to the city, is that we need to do a better job of ensuring that minority and small businesses, right, Lawanda? I see you shaking your head, give timely information. So when Brenda Martin presented in November, which I thought was timely to give you a month in advance, that they will be opening these libraries again, it was befitting, I felt, and the team and the leadership to have her come back again and do an encore presentation. And we squeezed her in because I need you to understand that library, you get into the library, did you hear what she says? You can remain as a minority business in that library for up to 3 years. There's no more solicitation process. When and if the city are in need of your services, they go to those pools. There are various pools that are there. We're going to make this information available to you. That entire presentation that she made available today, that's going to be forwarded out to everyone that signed on and those that registered that may have had some technical difficulties. Why? It is important to us, especially in the midst of this pandemic, that we give you as much information as we can to position you to succeed. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for agreeing to come again. Thank you for Director Ayun that continues to make her staff available through these webinar series. We cannot do what we do without you. There are so many wonderful things that are being advanced, not only with our community stakeholders like what Lawanda and those, but the city of Miramar. We too continue to come up with innovative and less intrusive ways that we can engage small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses and make the procurement process that much easier. You saw those thresholds. Ms. Brenda Martin provided you with her contact information. Please take her up on our offer. I will be sending you information on how to become a registered vendor, because that's your introduction. That's how you're going to let the city of Miramar know when those solicitations are released, please include me. And so I will be sending that information out and you will have it. Please take advantage of it. Thank you again, Brenda. Let's continue. I am most excited. One of the presenters that we had at our first webinar was Mr. Terry Watson. He is with FDOT. Now, when he came to our initial kickoff in October with the Bid Fit webinar series, he talked a little bit about pre-qualifications. You just heard about the pre-qualification process from Miami-Dade County, and you heard a little bit about what we do at the city of Miramar. Well, FDOT, we've already had, and we have a recording of what Mr. Watson made available in terms of how you can position your business to become pre-qualified. Today, we invited him back because we learned through that first webinar that he does a tremendous amount of work with DBE certification. So I asked Mr. Watson, please, Mr. Watson, I need you to come back to this final webinar to now present on the DBE certification. If you have and did not see the initial webinar where he talked about the pre-qualification, we're definitely going to make that information available to you. But as for today's session, we wanted Mr. Watson to come and to ensure that everyone is aware of how you can take advantage in all of the wonderful programs that FDOT is making available to DBE certified individuals. Mr. Watson, please take it away. Thank you so much again, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you for inviting me back. Appreciate it. To everyone out there, all the businesses that are out there, kudos to you for getting this information. This is very good, very viable, very important information that will help, most assuredly help your businesses grow. As Karen said, my name is Terry Watson. I am the state DB program coordinator for the Florida Department of Transportation out of the Equal Opportunity Office in Tallahassee. Real quickly, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about DBE certification, and then at the very end of that, another part of a program that we have that's part of our DBE program, our Small Business Development Program, BDI program on that. So if you can go to the next slide for me, please. Paul, thank you. DBE certification. One of the things that a lot of folks kind of get confused a little bit, they sometimes think, hey, well, if I'm pre-qualified, I'm certified, or if I'm certified, I'm pre-qualified. That's not the case. Certification, DB certification is not a pre-qualification. They're two totally separate entities, totally separate areas, and done by separate people. In our office, or for the department, pre-qualification is done out of the construction office, and they pre-qualify that you are able to do work, and you're pre-qualified to be able to bid on certain types of work. DB certification, what that is that is a federal program. DB certification, you'll find that in any state that has that gets federal funds on any of their projects. In our case, our construction and our professional service projects, they have to have a DB program, and that's what we do. We actually certify. We're members of the Unified Certification Program, which is roughly 30 or so different entities throughout the state who are members of that. And out of that, roughly about 13, 14 or so are actually certifying members, DOT being one of those. And what that means is those certifying members will certify a firm as a DBE, meeting the qualifications that are in the federal regulations, 49 CFR Part 26. If you want some riveting reading, go read that tonight. Don't fall asleep. Read that tonight. And but those certifiers actually certify based on on those regs, and then all of the members of the Unified Certification have agreed that anyone who's certified by any of those certifying members, they view them as a certified DBE as well. And so then if they're looking at trying to have DB utilization in their particular areas, in their particular counties, in their particular states, cities, they know that these DBEs that are in the DB directory that we all deposit into that directory are actually certified through the proper regulations. Certifications for specific types of work. So it's not, oh, I'm certified as a DB, so now I can do anything. No, you certify as if you're doing concrete, or you certify if you're doing landscaping, or if you're doing whatever the types of work that you're trying to get certified in and meet those qualifications in, meaning the dollar thresholds. you get certified for those types of work. The burden of proof is on the applicant initially. When you come in to get certified, you have to prove to us that you meet the qualifications that are in that 49 CFR Part 26. And now once you're certified, the burden shifts to us if there's a need to remove you from the directory, the DB directory. That burden then shifts to us or the certifying member as to why you no longer meet those qualifications. Next slide, please. For DB certification, it's based on being socially and economically disadvantaged. The socially disadvantaged, that has been the presumed groups have been decided by Congress, by federal government. They are, as you see there, women, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, and subcontinent Asian Americans, and others if documented. So yes, you could be, let's say, a white male, but if you grew up and you lived in the Appalachian area, I always use that example. That area of the country has been deemed as the folks who live there and have grown up there can be socially disadvantaged. They do not have some of the access to and advantages of that other folks in other areas did. So if you can prove that that were the case, you could be certified as a DBE and not be one of the presumed groups. You could fall under other. Next slide, please. The socially disadvantaged individuals must be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. You have to show ownership. You have to own at least 51% or more of the company has to be owned by the disadvantaged owner, or a group, if it's a group of folks, 51% or more of that group has to be disadvantaged owners. You have to be real and substantial, not just on paper. And we do verify those things. We go through and there are certification specialists that go out and actually, once you've turned in your application, they come out and actually do, here in the state, come out and actually do an in-person interview and meet you at your location to talk about what it is you do, see what equipment you say you have, and all those things that you say you have to be able to be the business that you say you are. Don't get intimidated. If you don't have a building, you don't need a building. If your business is done in the kitchen table, on the kitchen table, as long as you can show this is where my computer sits, this is where my printer is, this is what I need to do my work, this is where I do my bids, that's where I run my business from, that's fine. You don't have to go out and buy a building. If you have one, if you have equipment, you have to be able to show the equipment that you have, that you list on the application. You must control the business. It must be independent. It does not rely on others to run the business. And you must be making the day-to-day and the long-term decisions for the business. Next slide, please. Now, the economically disadvantaged part of that, socially and economically disadvantaged, your personal net worth has to be at or below $1.32 million. And that's for each qualifying owner. So if it's a group of folks, then each owner that's qualifying as the disadvantaged owner has to be at or below $1.32 million. But that does exclude your ownership in the business, and it also excludes any equity you have in your primary residence. So that gets backed out. So if you're still then under 1.32 million, then you now meet that threshold for the economically disadvantaged piece. One quick note I'll add in, that number used to be about, it used to be $700,000. And several years ago, there was some rumblings and folks lobbied Congress and brought to the fact that, hey, as a business owner, even as a small business owner, we need to be able to develop and gather some wealth, because a lot of times we use our personal money to help with payroll, to help with making this purchase or that purchase. So there was a lobbying to increase that amount, and they did, which I totally agree with. I think again, in a lot of different businesses, you do have to be able to accumulate some wealth to be able to keep your business running. So glad that happened. Next slide, please. I think that was the last slide for the DBE piece. One of the things I'll want to impart upon you too, unlike most of the states in the United States, Florida has a race-neutral DB program. The types of programs are race-neutral and race-conscious. Florida's is race-neutral. That means we believe through the normal competitive process, we'll reach our state's DBE goal. We don't put goals on individual contracts. Before 2000, we did, but since 2000, we've been race neutral, and happy to say we have met our DBE goal every year except for 2 early on after 2000. We've met or exceeded our DBE goal. As a matter of fact, last year, FDOT's DBE goal for our federally funded projects is 10.65%. We ended the year at 11.28% on the federal funded projects. And what we do at DOT, we actually look at our state funded projects the same way. We track them as well and DB utilization on them as well. So when you add in those as well, we actually were at 12.58% in DB utilization. So on $6.1 billion of work through last federal fiscal year, 768 million plus was actually DBE committed to DBE firms on those FDOT projects. The last thing I want to give to everybody, Karen, is our BDI program, Business Development Initiative. That's our small business component of our DBE program. And what that is, the federal regulations won't allow you to set aside projects just for DBEs, but we can set aside projects for small businesses, any and all small businesses. And so what we were able to do a few years back was actually develop a business development initiative program to do just that. Each of our districts, DOT is divided up into districts in the state. Each of our district secretaries have their crew look and they have to, as part of their evaluation even, they look at 10% or more of the projects they're going to award that year being set aside as BDI projects. And those are just for small businesses to bid against other small businesses. So you don't have to be a DBE to bid on those BDI projects. You can be a non-DB firm, but what it is you'll be actually a prime to the department as opposed to being a sub. So our DB goal and our DB counting deals with those who are subs to larger primes and those DBEs who are primes to the DOT. And we really put a lot of emphasis in trying to make that happen through both our supportive service as well as through other means that we use to assist firms in growing. We have support service providers. We have 3 different programs. One is the Construction Management Development Program and Bond Guarantee Program, where we do classroom teaching and have bond assistance where we act as a secondary surety on our projects. The other is the support service, which is funded through federal highway. And that program will actually help you as a DBE, if you're certified DBE, whatever you need to grow your business, whether it's help with accounting, whether it's help in learning how to bid better, whether it's help in navigating our website, whether it's help in identifying what projects are out there that you can bid on, they will do that. Whether it's help with marketing your business, anything you need at no cost to you. There's a cost, but DOT is paying it. And so we want you to take advantage of them. And then the last program is a program that helps identify firms to work on these large design build jobs that DOT is putting out and have over the past few years here, $50 million and more. That group actually identifies DBE businesses that have capacity and they put them in front of the shortlisted firms so that they can meet with everybody that's shortlisted. So no matter who wins the job, the DBE firm has had an opportunity to meet and show that company that, hey, I can work on this particular job and this is what I can do. So again, a lot of things that we do at DOT to try and assist firms. And we want to make sure that if you want to work at DOT, whether it be roadway and bridge, or we also are commodity spending. We also track minority business spending on that as well for just all of our entities throughout the state. Please come and be a part of that. Thank you, Karen. Hopefully that will help folks.
Amazing information, Mr. Watson. Thank you so much. And that's why if you look at the flyer, we talked about all of these, making all of these resources available to you to ensure that you know where to go to get help in responding to solicitations, to make sure you know where to go if you need financing. You just heard Miami-Dade County, they have an actual certified MBA on their team that assists Mr. Carlos. He does banking and financing. All of these things that we've listed on this flyer would be made available to you. And now we have done that. We started off the series, you may remember, with Broward County, and they talked about their CBE and SBE certification. Miami-Dade County came in and talked about their MBE certifications. We had West Palm Beach that talked about their minority certifications. And now we wanted to also give you information because we committed to on the flyer various certifications. DBE certification is huge. They made tremendous adjustments to ensure more inclusion. I thank you, Mr. Watson, for taking your time and carefully articulating how these programs are going more from that just minority set aside point to make sure that there are more programs being offered for more inclusion. BDI programs, different acronyms. We're doing the same at the city of Miramar. Most people don't know that's the new platform. The diversity and the inclusion concept is race neutral. A lot of these programs, after being challenged so many times, are all race neutral. And now the new component is a combination of the race conscious and race neutral, where you can see, like Mr. Watson said, you have programs that address both. We're looking to do the very same here at the city of Miramar. We need you to know about these things. We need you to understand these processes. We need you to understand when we're developing these individual programs within other programs, that's how the system is now ensuring more inclusion. We're doing it in a multiple of ways to make sure that we continue to equip businesses. Thank you again, Mr. Watson. Again, this is being recorded. Everything that he made available will be made available to you. His counterpart that was on before, Ms. Adriana Clarke from USDOT, she has an amazing opportunities about contracting opportunities that she and her team and her programs are making available. And I asked her to come back again because we need to continue amid this to give you as much information as we can. Thank you again, Ms. Clarke, for joining us. Please take it away and give us some more information to our amazing participants today's webinar.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you all again for inviting me back today. It's certainly great to be back amongst all of our small business CEOs and certainly my colleagues and guests who are on the webinar. So, of course, it is always my pleasure, as I always began a talk, to be before small business CEOs and sharing information that's going to propel their business and to ensure their growth. And with that said, I don't want to be repetitive on some of the information that Mr. Watson has shared with you today, but some of the information I will highlight just again. For those of you that are not quite familiar with the U.S. Department of Transportation, just a bit about the very specific mission of your Office of Small Business. USDOT has a host of programs that are supporting small businesses at the state and the local level, because that is where a lot of the U.S. Department of Transportation funds are actually granted to our state agencies, such as Florida Department of Transportation, but also at the more local level. So the transit agencies, some of our cities, our municipalities, such as the city of Miramar, as an example, could have some streetscape projects, all that are receiving funds by your U.S. Department of Transportation. So those are the dollars, because sometimes it is perhaps a bit misunderstood that USDOT, well, that only happens at the federal level, and all of that, the opportunities are in Washington, D.C., or outside of the reach of small businesses, and that's furthest from the truth, because a large part of the arm of DOT is making grants available to its state and local agencies so that they're able to stand up their transportation related projects at the local levels and allow for small businesses to reach out and touch those opportunities in ways that are going to ensure the growth of their business. And some of the things that DOT is, specifically my office, the Office of Small Business, is involved with has to do with procurement assistance, opportunities such as this to bring the information to bear so that all of our small businesses are aware where the opportunities are, how to reach out and touch those opportunities, and what is specifically available. So procurement assistance is hugely a part of what we are involved with. U.S. Department of Transportation, similar to that of the SBA or Small Business Administration, has a mentor protege program where we are pairing large prime contractors with our small businesses. Again, all of that is an effort to grow small businesses. U.S. Department of Transportation also has a national suretyship program, best known as the Bonding Education Program, where we are providing education, information, and bringing the surety, the industry, and stakeholders who are involved to the small businesses to ensure that businesses have the bonding capacity that they need to perform on DOT funded contracts. Also, the opportunity to talk to persons like my office, small business specialists who often serve as sort of the guardian, if you will, to the contracting or acquisition officers who are actually putting out these contract opportunities. And the specific mission of DOT, as it is aligned to everything that I just said, is to ensure the small business policies and goals of the Secretary of Transportation are implemented in a fair and efficient and effective manner. Next slide. Thank you. And just a bit about, in my 10 minutes, I want to really make sure that I get the information to you that's going to be more helpful. It's always good to remind an audience who are looking for opportunities that the federal government as the largest spender, upwards of $4 trillion. And that's, in and of itself, as we think about that, any small percentage of $4 trillion could really be a game changer when it comes to procurement and growing and expanding a business. So while we can't, maybe imagine, the entirety of $4 trillion, we can certainly, see our business somewhere within that trillions of dollars as some percentage, whatever that percentage is. Just a reminder that Department of Transportation is the single largest infrastructure building agency of all the cabinet level agencies within DOT. Now, that's not to say that we have the largest budget, but when it comes to infrastructure, USDOT definitely has the largest budget, and that's really what the department is involved with. Upwards of $6.5 billion a year in terms of procuring goods and services, and a significant portion of those billions are set aside and are committed to disadvantaged business enterprises, DBEs. Next slide, please. Just a reminder in terms of the overall government-wide contracting goals, these are the percentages and these are the breakdowns for government spending. The government always seeks to meet and in often cases exceed these percentages of which they are utilizing small businesses in these set-aside categories. Now, these are government-wide set-aside goals, and it equates to the dollars that are being expended among small businesses. So again, while, from a government standpoint, and as a disclaimer, we always have to say that while it is not required to have a certification to do business with the government, it is more than encouraged. And this is a very good example of the positioning and the advantage that is given because these percentages are set aside. And again, we go back to any small percentage, be it 5%, even be it 1% of government's, large spending could again be very significant. Next slide. And again, not to necessarily be repetitive of maybe perhaps some of the information already explained about the disadvantaged business enter programs, but it is worth saying the DBE program has been around more than 30 something years, closer to 40 years now. The legislation has been challenged, it has been argued. It has gone through and it has weathered the storm. The DBE program is the law of the land. There are expectations that states and local entities, whether they are race neutral or race conscious, meet the overall 10% goal of the federal government, DOT's, and aspirational goal of 10%. That is a national percentage. The way that DOT meets and exceeds its goal is by the states and local agencies who are receiving these federal funds are actually utilizing and reporting small businesses, their spend with small businesses. And so it is always encouraged. Disadvantaged Business Enterprise is the only such program when it comes, again, specifically to transportation infrastructure that is legislated. It is codified into the law. And like I said, it is the law of the land. Nearly 40 years, this program, through all of the challenges and all that it has gone through, it still stands. And it has recently, just a couple of months ago in September, been before Congress, and it comes out again unscathed as a program. So again, we can't encourage, yes, I agree with that. We can't encourage that businesses who believe, even if they believe they meet or would meet the eligibility criteria for this program, to please, find your entity, local or state entity that is a part of the certified entity, and please consider certification. Next slide. I just wanted to display also some of just to have an idea of where DOT was focused in terms of their procurement and for FY 2019. Among the top 6 NAICS codes where the actual spend for FY 19 had to do with janitorial services, as an example, custom computer program services, and the likes of which you see here displayed on the presentation. So just to give you an idea, if you are in these areas of providing services and could potentially support the mission of U.S. Department of Transportation and any of its operating administrations, whether that's at the federal, state, and or local level, these are just some areas to give you an idea that you could potentially play in, because this is where DOT was spending the larger portion of their funding. That is for the close of FY 2019. Next slide, please. And so, as most recently during 2020, and what has been most active has been these 5 NAICS codes that I pulled up and just kind of did some taking a look at a deeper dive at, to say, okay, this is where, DOT is procuring a large portion, data processing, hosting, and the related services, under the cusp of IT, a lot of that in the way of, particularly as it relates to the pandemic and everything that has been, the impacts from that. Many agencies, DOT included, are having to figure out ways that we had to move into the remote environment, and hosting services and all of the related services has been a large procurement for DOT. Translation and interpretation services, we don't get, at least my offices do not get a lot of services in that regard, but all information is being translated in so many various languages, because all the citizens and stakeholders for DOT and the government at large needs to be translated into the various languages, and we just don't have a large arm of small businesses that we can reach out and touch who are in this area. So again, another consideration, a large procurement. Security guards and patrol services of all of the DOT assets, whether that's at airports and seaports, any of the modes of transportation where there is security that's required. And again, in an environment as we find ourselves in now, security is, perhaps the key word. I also wanted to highlight some of the places where you can go, today, right now, and just, kind of spend some time in terms of identifying potential opportunities, some of which of these opportunities, at least from the local and the state level, you would find DOT, U.S. Department of Transportation funded opportunities. At the federal level, the last of which a bullet that you have there, all are U.S. Department of Transportation funded, but City of Miramar as a potential, who's our host today, Broward County Purchasing, City of Fort Lauderdale, the state of state of Florida statewide, and then specific to Florida Department of Transportation. Mr. Watson gave a very great overview of that, and where to find opportunities. That's very important. And just to put a pin in and to further highlight the mention of the BDI programs that is often discussed at the federal level. That's one of the more unique programs across the country that is certainly looked upon as a best practice that offer up an opportunity. And again, as stated, it's not set aside for DBEs, but small businesses, and a disadvantaged business enterprise, or DBE, is within that category of small businesses who can potentially bid on those projects. So that's a wonderful opportunity, as is other opportunities. So leave no rock uncovered, particularly as we continue to navigate through this time of the pandemic, and figure out ways that we're able to continue to grow our businesses, to stay afloat. Ensure that, again, no rock is uncovered, figuring out ways that we can consider teaming with other of your peers to offer up a wider range of services, potentially to the federal government or to the state and or local entities, is also encouraged. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then just some, I wanted to, in terms of this economic times that we're in, consider some approaches to the government. So, some of the approaches is you're approaching a small business specialist or someone that you have opportunity to network or interface or interact with, and that has some buying power. You always want to highlight, what problem that you can immediately solve, and it relates very specifically to the agency's mission, what it is, whatever their most critical mission happens to be. For DOT, it's safety. Everything centers around safety. So how can that mission be solved quickly, easily, how it can be delivered in a streamlined way, and how it saves the government and taxpayers money. Those are always key words, and how, usages in terms of approaching anyone that has purchasing power, even at the most simplified acquisition, point of purchase. The government always wants to hear those kinds of buzzwords. So if that's a part of your capability statement, you're on the right track, or a part of your pitch, you're on the right track. If it's not, consider adding, those, buzzwords. And, I would offer up that if you stand a greater chance of, going further with the government. This, as we come to a close of my remarks, I always want to offer some do's and don'ts when it comes to approaching the government. Always be proactive. The government is not necessarily going to come looking for you. You need to seek out, who best serve, who can best be a partner for your company, your goods and services. If it's not DOT, then you look to some of the other agencies, again, at the state, at the federal and or state level. Always ask clarifying and pertinent questions. Be very clear on what the need of an entity is. Be prepared to compete. That means if you're a contractor, that means having capacity with respect to your surety, being able to carry a project, depending on how payment, whether it's 30 days, you're having to do, something more than 30 days to await payment, be able to finance your project. And, the all important, being able to market your company to any entity and to any person that represents buying power, again, at any of those levels, is also critically important. So with that said, thank you again for allowing that information, and look forward to spending time in the Q&A session.
Excellent, 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 as always. I cannot tell you, as you can see, this information is so valuable. And again, the PowerPoints will be made available to you at the conclusion. And so now you've heard about all of these wonderful opportunities. What if you're saying in your business and you're on, Dr. Hollis, this sounds great, but I don't know how to complete a solicitation application. We've had firms call asking for this help, which is why we have our next panelist on board, Ms. Telena Parrots. She is actually a small Black business owner. She's the owner of Right Choice Consulting, and she's a community stakeholder that the city of Miramar continues to partner with, because she goes above and beyond the call of duty to make wonderful resources available to small businesses through her social media platforms, et cetera, et cetera. I will introduce to some Ms. Telena Parrots and reacquaint to others, and let her provide you with some upcoming and wonderful opportunities that are happening right now with she and her company. Telena, please take it away.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Hollis, for that wonderful introduction as always. And hello to the fellow panelists that's on here. You guys have shared some really interesting and really important information with the small business community that's out here. So I make homage to you all for sharing that. We are in an unprecedented time of none of us knew that we were going to be entering into a pandemic. And so I think now more so than ever, this topic of preparing solicitation responses is extremely important. A lot of businesses are finding themselves having to pivot their approach in how they actually seek out new streams of revenue for sustainable efforts. If you can go to the next slide for me. So, I'm going to keep this simple. I have a habit of being very informative. And so I know that we're dealing with a time constraint. So what I want to start by saying is I'm the CEO of Right Choice Consulting Firm. We are located in South Florida. We are an SBE, CBE firm. We are insured and we are credible. The reason I mention that is because during this time, there's a lot of information that's being exchanged that might not be as reputable. And I want you to know that you can, whether it's our office or any of these entities that are on here, make sure you're dealing with a facility or an entity that's going to give you credible information, which leads us to this presentation today. So everything that's been listed on these slides and that you'll receive in these slides and the information that came before me and that will come after me has been verified as true and credible information that will do you justice with sustaining and maintaining your business. There is a strong conversation that's going on right now within our small business community where some people are not knowing where they're going next, or if their business is going to stay viable. Is it going to stay open? How do they position themselves? Well, I want to let you know you do not have to stop doing what you love. It's more so just reassert yourself in how you position yourself and pivot. So what does that mean? Well, bidding with the government is an extreme possibility for a lot of businesses out there. Even for cosmetologists, some people don't even know this. A lot of our cosmetologists, small businesses are out there like, what do I do next? I don't have I don't have a large amount of people coming in. We'll look into different ideas with the local government and agencies that actually look for bidding partners and see what are some of the services that you can provide maybe when they have conventions, whether or not it's maybe in the future after we get a vaccine or whatever it is, but you can bid now and be on that list. Be one of those agencies there, or maybe it is that you need to involve your services. Well, go ahead and go to the next slide. This training session here and this workshop that we're doing here, it's just to kind of set you up. Paul, if you can go to the next slide for me. This training here in this workshop is to kind of set you up on what to do. What are some of the things that you need to have in place? Well, first things that you want to do is you want to define what you do. Quite a few panelists here said, make sure you know your niche. What is it that you're strong in? And if what you were doing before pre-COVID-19, it's not something that's relevant at this moment, because relevancy is important as well. Being able to know who you can market to and who you can target, you need to go ahead and really sit down and strategically plan out what your next 3, 6, and 12 months are going to look like. Notice I didn't go past the 1 year. You do want to go the 3 to 5 year for sure, but you really want to understand how you're going to sustain during this time over the next year. And you want to set a pace, set some milestones, put it together an action plan, and put that strategic plan into use. And so you want to make sure a part of your strategy should be, okay, well, if you're going to bid with the government, what do you need? You need to have you need to register with SAMS.gov. It's all listed on the slide here. You need to have a DUNS number. You need to know what your certification classifications are, if you have any, if you don't, and what you need to do to get certified. We went through a list of, I think it was DBE already. We talked about SBE, CBE. Terry Watson was mentioning that earlier before. We also have ACDBE, which is dealing with the airports. We even had the U.S. Department of Transportation on the line here, DOD, which is, Department of Defense. I can go on and on and on. These are all agencies that take a plethora of different services that are not just transportation. That's not just, mechanical or engineering. It can definitely be services. I saw on the list that you provided before from the U.S. Department of Transportation, there was a list that said professional services on there. And if you are an accountant, if you are in the management and you are, you do leadership training, these are things to think about. Get in where you fit in, right? And so that's what you need to really think about there. All right, go ahead and go to the next slide. Some of the other things that you want to think about is budgeting, right? You want to know what your new budget is, because what your budget was before COVID-19 probably isn't what it is now, whether or not you were expanding or whether you had a deficit, right? So you need to really realign, reshift, and then identify. I like to tell my businesses, have 7 streams of revenue, because when one is low, the next is high, right? So you want to make sure that you can monitor that. You also want to make sure you know your identification codes, so that when you do bid, what services do you have and how does the government classify that? So therefore you can actually make sure you can get in where you fit in, right? DUNS number. You want to make sure that you understand that business credit is okay. To be able to take out a loan is okay. To be able to make sure you pay your bills on time is definitely okay. So look into these things, make sure that you're staying relevant. Page code, the reason I mentioned SAMS.gov, in order for you to even go after grant opportunities or federal opportunities, you need something called a CAGE code. And in order for you to get that CAGE code, you need to be registered with SAMS.gov. So remember these codes. You need your NAICS codes, which is your service identifications, your SEAT codes, same thing. They're just depending on where you're bidding at. You need to be registered, obviously, and get your certifications. You need to be registered as vendors. Make sure you take that effort, fill out the application, and at the very least become a vendor. And then take it another level so that you can get some type of priority and get your certifications when you can, right? You want to make sure that you have your good standing with the IRS, pay your taxes. One of the largest things I've realized is that going through this process of COVID-19, dealing with small businesses, whether or not they were bidding or they were going after CARES Act opportunities that were out there, is that people did not take care of their books appropriately. One of the largest things I see small businesses do, and I need you to get away from this, and I'm going to be one of the first ones to tell you if you haven't heard it already from the accountant, is just stop claiming and writing off everything. If you're a small business, claim what it is that's true. Okay, meaning that so that you can, when times like this, you can get assistance. You can actually bid, and people will accept it. You need to show some value and some weight in in reality of the size of your business and what it's really worth. Make sure you have some value there. All right, go on ahead and go forward. To the next slide. So that brings us to let's see here. Let's do this. So that brings us to preparing the solicitation. What is it? What do you need to have and be prepared for solicitation? I believe someone mentioned on our panel already, and kudos to you. You need a capability statement, right? You need to be able to identify and outline what it is that you do well. You need to be able to identify what classification it falls in, and you need to be able to have and be readily available to be able to offer feedback about your services, products that you have to offer. This is going to serve as an important foundational element for preparing your proposals and responding to the government. Now, some of you all may say, well, you know what? I am just not gifted with writing and responding to proposals. We're not asking you to become a genius and go study or 5 or 10 years to actually become a good proposal writer. We're asking you to know the basics and know what you need. Now, if you find out that you're not a strong writer, well, there's agencies like myself or any other ones out there that can assist you. Right? But you need to know what's in there, because you need to make sure that you keep everything up to par, and that whatever you're experiencing and whatever you're going, I apologize, guys. Let's see. and whatever you're experiencing during the time, whether it's running your business, whether it's during this pandemic, whether it's if in the future, you want to make sure that you're keeping them tight books. One, you want to make sure that you're staying relevant. You want to make sure that you're keeping your certifications up to date, because if you notice that anybody that mentions certifications today, they said annually. Even though you may have 3 years, but annually you need to go in there. So you don't just apply one time and that's you're certified for life. You have to make sure that they know what's going on with your business and that you're staying relevant and that you're staying compliant. Compliance is a must whenever you're dealing with any agencies or entities that are out there, whether it's government or non-government alike. People want to know that you're respectable and credible. All right, going ahead and go to the next slide for me. So the kind of contracts that are out there, I'm not going to go into thorough depth because some of it's been mentioned, but we're talking about being a prime contractor and a subcontractor, knowing where you want to fit in. I suggest if you're a small business, you've never bid before, go in as a subcontractor, right? And become a certified vendor. And find out how it works by working on smaller contracts before you go after the larger ones. Make sure that you have everything in place. It's nothing like winning a contract and not being able to fulfill it. So just be careful with that. Going ahead and go to the next slide. There's lots of different vehicles that are out there and different agencies that are out there. Some of the places you want to definitely go to, as we mentioned, Periscope, BidSync, same one and the same, beta.sams.gov. And I mean, there are many other ones out there. Do your homework, do your research. Not only do you have to bid with the federal government, but know what's going on locally. I mean, the city of Miramar is an amazing city. They're telling you about any and everything that's coming up, whether or not it's here in the city of Miramar or whether it is a locally surrounding agencies and companies that are around, and even through the federal government as well. So get to know who your city officials are. Get to know the different small business and economic development centers that are associated with there, because they're there to benefit your organizations. They're there to help you. And we here at Wright-Robinson Consulting Firm are just there to fill in the gap. So wherever you're lacking in, let us help you get there to the next level. Don't feel like you don't have a support system. You need a support system to get through this bidding process. All right, next slide, please. Okay, I think that was it, actually. I thought I had a slide up there with our information, but I tried to keep this. I'm going to leave you guys with some exciting information. Things are always happening, right? 2 top things, small businesses, that you want to be aware of right now when it comes to funding your business. If you are in Broward County, the CARES Act grant just opened up to home-based businesses. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is on another level. Okay, a lot of you all may have lost your offices or you've aged out of them. You're not wanting to get back in because of the pandemic right now. You're working from home. You're making money. Oh, good job. What I want you to do is I want you to go to Broward County CARES Act grant and go ahead and apply. They're not offering CE services at this moment, which is technical assistance services, but you can apply up to December 9th. Another thing I wanted you all to leave you all with is knowing that our government looks like they're finally getting ready to make some strong decisions about another stimulus. And it looks like they're going to be supporting small businesses. So stay aware, stay tuned to what's coming down, and know that you're not alone. I wanted to take this moment to thank the city of Miramar, as always, for being so gracious and kind to Wright-Robinson Consulting Firm and myself. We appreciate servicing the small business community, all government agencies, and we look forward to helping you sustain and maintain your business. Thank you, guys.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Telena. And it was so important because when I saw the email this morning about the extension, the deadline was yesterday, and she and I were contemplating, oh my God, we're not going to be able to let the businesses know because our webinar is December 3rd and there was a deadline. So when I opened up the email this morning to see that we have yet another deadline, it's like, we don't have a lot of time, but we need to let them know. So we have that information. She's going to be supplying us with some additional information. We will be forwarding that information so that you can take advantage of those opportunities. Thank you again, Telena. Moving right
You know what, Dr. Hollis, I'm sorry. There was one more thing. I apologize.
For a second, Telena, because I have to get through the rest of the panel. But if we have some time at the end, we'll let you speak again. 1 second, please. Thank you so much. And the first hour, as you can see, was packed. One of the things that they said over and over again is bonding, bonding, bonding. We have a Miramar-owned business, a Black-owned, Miramar-owned business, Gladys Keith, FSB Bonding. and she assists small businesses in securing bonding for over 35 years. You cannot get the majority of these programs without bonding. Ms. Keith, I need to hear from you again. Please take it away and help our businesses today know a little bit more about how it is they position themselves to take advantage of your services. Take it away, Gladys.
Thank you, Karen. 25 years.
Yes. You do it so well.
Hi, everyone. FSB agency provides contract surety bonds. That's what we specialize in. And contract surety bonds will be bid bonds, performance bonds, and payment bonds. These are the types of bonds that you're going to need for all of the entities that just spoke before me. The main thing that I want to talk to small businesses about, though, is even to get into the bonding arena, you need to be an established business. And the lady before me, she talked about having your taxes paid. All of those things need to be current in order for me to be successful in helping you secure bonding. You need to have a bank account. You need to have CPA prepared financial statements. As I said, your taxes need to be current. And you also need to have some kind of legal team supporting you, a lawyer or something, to review all the contracts that you're going to be receiving, to make sure that there are no issues in there that the sureties are going to have a problem with. Because surety companies read those contracts completely. And if they find something that they think is going to be negative for you and that they're not willing to abide by, they're going to, you and the surety are going to have a back and forth issue. So it is always important to have somebody go over those contracts with you. Let me see, I have several programs for companies starting out. If you're just starting out with bonding, there are a lot of programs out there that are credit only, or I can get you set up through the SBA quick bond programs, which are like 400 up to 400,000 individual bonds. Some go up to 500, some go up to 750. Everything is determined by credit. Credit is going to become a key thing that you have to really pay attention to. You got to really be conscious of what your personal credit starting out, and once your business gets going, your business credit. You have to always be conscious that you're paying your subs and your suppliers and on time, because that is something that the surety companies really pay a lot of attention to. And I think that's about it for me. You got any particular questions after because bonding is really a one-on-one
That's right.
type of situation.
Yes. And Ms. Keith, and again, if you have any questions for any of our panel members, please put it in the chat. I love that capability statement. What you saw on the screen was the FSB agency's capability statement. So for all of you that do not know how to complete a capability statement, that will be a part of the package, and that's a perfect model for you to use in terms of how to prepare a capability statement. We want to move right along. You heard Mrs. Keith talk about the importance of credit repair. We cannot tell you enough. In terms of credit repair, we have on the line Mr. Jerry Joseph, and he is a proud partner of Xander Financial, a Miramar Black-owned business that assists minority, small, and micro businesses in getting and improving their credit. You need good credit. You've heard them all say that, be it a loan, a grant, bonding, insurance, everything focuses on credit. So, Mr. Jerry Joseph, if you could please provide our team of businesses that are on the webinar today with some information as to what you and your organization can do to increase their credit standing. Thank you so much. Take it away, Jerry.
Greetings, everyone. And Ms. Karen, thank you so much for the presentation. Again, my name is Jerry. I'm with Xander Financial, and we do specialize in business and personal credit. Now, business credit is an area of financing, of course, that every entrepreneur needs to be aware of and focus on time and in establishing. Without spending dedicated time and resources to building the company's business credit, the entrepreneur is basically missing out on the single largest source of income in the world. Well, again, here at Xander Financial, we do specialize in both personal and business credit. Our expertise is to develop the best strategies and efforts to improve your credit. Now, business credit plays a big role, especially getting approved for grants and loans, so on and so forth. Now, before you get started, you want to decide whether you're going personal guarantee or non-guarantee. You're probably wondering the difference between the two. Usually when you do a personal guarantee, you use your personal social to help fund the business. That is proven to be the most fastest way to get approved to funding, because you're basically using your credit line as collateral. And that process can take away or up to 3 months. It all depends. Now, when it comes to the grants and bonds, so on and so forth, we typically like to get our clients at a minimum of 650, because it definitely puts them in a position when it comes to getting access to funding. Now, Xander Financial here, when you incorporate us in your journey, it is a 4-step process as shown in our slide here. First, we want to identify your goals. What are you looking to achieve at the end of the day, just so we're on track with your progress. We review your. So, for example, if you're looking to non-guarantee, personal guarantee, then we would establish your credit to where it's good enough for funding, which is that magic number. I like to see 650. Of course, we will aim to go higher. But review your credit profile, see what you're lacking, and see what areas of improvement that needs to be done. We go over a budget. In the event that you do have some collections and your creditors do require a plan of action where they're willing to knock off a discount off the collection, then we're able to help you plan a budget. And then we just implement strategies after we sit down together and we've established what you're looking to achieve at the end of the day. Then we can implement those strategies and execute it. So be mindful that every credit profile is different. There's no guarantee on a time frame, but we often typically see results in 3 to 6 months. That determine your credit. For those who are wondering, I like to put it all in the pie. Credit history, types of credit used. That is all discussed in our 2-step process when we just go over as far as like the services we're able to provide. So, for example, new credit, that's whenever you get an inquiry, that contributes to 10% of your score. Whenever you get an inquiry, it does it does have an impact in your score. And here at Xander Financial, we are able to take care of that to give you the boost that you need necessary. Now, for those who are looking for non-guarantee, where you're not using your social, basically that's where you start to say, okay, well, where you start to create your business profile, and then you can register for trade lines. Now, at Xander Financial, as a non-guarantee, we're able to help you set up your business by establishing your EIN number, acquiring business contact information, assisting you in helping set up your checking account, and also registering for your DUNS number. Additional services for Xander Financial can assist additional credibility, such as creating the website, your website, a toll-free number, and company email, just to ensure that you are a legitimate business. So we're always happy to help businesses with establishing trade lines by connecting with the right vendors that will that will, give you a major support as far as credit bureau is concerned. Typically when it comes to getting a proof of funding, it goes by a paydex score. The paydex score is on a scale from like 0 to 100. You want to stay above 80. And of course, here at Xander Financial, we're able to guide you to the right path to ensure and make sure that you are getting the best service possible. But that about sums up, our credit services. Hope you find the information to be valuable. And Ms. Karen, thank you. And also to the city of Miramar for the opportunity for giving Xander Financial an opportunity to speak.
Again, Jerry, thank you. Credit is one of those things that's kind of personal, so I can't imagine we get many questions, particularly in the chat about that. That is why a lot of these things are personal. With a lot of webinars that are giving just general and basic information, you're able to have these Q&A sessions and you're able to really allow the participants to dive into what it is, the information. Well, a lot of this information is extremely personal, but critical. Now, the information we're giving you, these are the things and the tools and the services that you will need to position yourself to take advantage of these government agencies and government solicitation process. However, we understand the critical and private nature of a lot of the services. You need to contact and reach out to Ms. Gladys P. directly when you're talking about the specifics of your particular company and the bonding, because it's an individual thing. You need to reach out directly to Xander Financial when you want to talk about your credit. Those are not questions, and we do not encourage you to include those types of questions in an open panel and forum like we have, which is why we're just providing you with all of this information. We're going to additionally provide it to you, follow up in an email, and we're giving you all of their contact information so that you can reach out to each and every one of them. I love my panel members. I said, please come with current and available contacting opportunities. So when you see Ms. Adriana Clarke of USDOT saying, here, these are the agencies that are hiring. Here's where those are clicks. All you will have to do, thank you, Adriana, is click to go and identify those opportunities. Lawanda, Wright-Robinson, here are the upcoming opportunities. Here are the poolies. Click, call, please, please, please. We can present all of the information. It is going to take you taking that step, capitalizing on this information, calling, developing the tools, getting your credit straight, calling and following up with Ms. Keith, taking Telena Paris up in her offer. If you don't know how to fill it out, there are services and businesses and systems and tools and people in place to assist you. Okay? Continuing with that, another thing that we find that businesses continue to struggle with is how do you price? It's nice you have these webinars on solicitation, and we understand. Thank you for showing us the scope of work. We don't know that. Thank you for helping us with bonding. We appreciate that. Thank you for the credit repair. Well, guess what? How do I price that? What if it's an invitation to bid and I've never priced the project? We have a guest with us, Mr. Gelin. He is a Black-owned small business owner. And you'll see what we're doing here with this whole entire webinar series. We're presenting stakeholders and our community stakeholders in terms of the agency stakeholders, but we also wanted to present to you some successful small business owners, most of which are successful small business owners, because we believe that you can relate to people that are just like you, other business owners. It's not just Adriana Clarke or Lawanda Wright-Robinson or Karen Hollis that's working for agencies. These are small business owners that are just like you, that are grinding, working, striving to remain relevant and thrive amid this pandemic. We have Mr. Mike Gelin. He's the president of Gelin Benefits Group, and he's also a Tamarack commissioner. And he's going to provide you with some key terms to consider that will assist you in being able to effectively price projects when and should you decide to fully engage in the solicitation process. Mr. Gelin, thank you for agreeing to join us again. Please take it away and provide our panel and those businesses that are on with some information on how they can position themselves to continue to succeed in the solicitation process.
All right, thank you very much. Glad to be here and happy to share some practical resources, information. So again, my name is Mike Gelin, owner of the Gelin Benefits Group and serve as City Commissioner in the City of Tamarack, where I push for small business programs, local business preference programs, and going into next year, I'm going to advocate and hope to get commission support to have a minority business program by getting approval to have a disparity study done to show what we already know. We're now doing much business with minority or Black-owned businesses, and hopefully move forward with that. So on the next slide, I just want to show what you need to do to make sure you appropriately price for your services, to make sure that you don't overbid and price yourself out, or underbid, win the contract, and then you don't have enough money to manage the contract or make a profit. So the good thing about working with public sector is the fact that doing market research is easy. We just heard from Miami-Dade County earlier, where they have the awarded contracts on their websites. There's a few cities that do that. Fort Lauderdale is one I can think of. So you know how much the prior vendor who does the services that you provide bid on. But if the cities that you're targeting don't have the information online, then all you do is send a public records request to the city clerk. You copy the procurement director or the purchasing director, and you ask for a copy of the last executed contract for, in my case, the RFP for insurance brokerage services. So whatever service it is, you need to find out. The more information you know, the better. So if you know the name of the title of the RFP, if you know the RFP number, that helps. Because most of the procurement directors are not going to know just a general overview of your business. So if you can give them as much information as possible, that will be very helpful. So in my case, what I do is I have a spreadsheet that has the 31 cities in Broward County and other public agencies like Broward College, Broward County Government, Broward Sheriff's Office, and other public agencies like the South Florida Water Management District. And I just have a spreadsheet where I have a list of the procurement director, the contract number, the contract date, and when the contract started, when it's projected to end, so that I know when I can start reaching out to contacts and putting people on my email list and trying to get appointments. Now, oftentimes when you try to get appointments, it can be difficult because people that are working for different government agencies, they don't have time to meet with vendors all day long. And so you have to use your leverage as a taxpayer and reach out to your county commissioner, your city commissioner, call the city manager, and try to get them to help you get an appointment. And once you do that, you have your market research, so you know how much cities are paying for the services that you provide. You've analyzed the scope of services so that you can see what services do I provide that match the current scope of services. And how would I price this if I bid on this? And would it be affordable for me to use other subcontractors if I don't do everything in-house and still be able to afford to service this contract? So that's the real purpose of doing the market research. You don't want to bid on a contract where it's $120,000 a year or $3 million over 2 years and you're bidding $5 million. You want to make sure you're competitive. So it's very important to make sure you have that information and so you can price appropriately. Also, you want to get a copy of the winning RFP so you can see how it was scored. What was the argument that was made? How does the proposal look? What does the sales pitch look like? Can you develop a professional RFP, a proposal that looks just as good as any top tier corporation? If you can't do it on your own, then you may need to hire a grant writer or professional writer where you basically answer all the questions of the RFP to the best of your ability, and then you give it to a professional grant writer and have them spruce it up and market it up and make it really look nice and professional, so that when someone that's on the selection committee is looking at the document, they're not going to dismiss you as a small business or dismiss you as unprofessional because you had it done professionally, just like the other major corporations. When I worked at a large corporation and they bid on RFPs, we had a full marketing department that responded to the RFP, made it look very pretty, customize it, and all we had to do as the experts was answer the technical questions of the RFP. But in terms of the style and the format and everything, they did everything, made it look pretty and professional. And once we answered the questions, we gave it back to them. They packaged it and they sent it out. So those are some of the things that, you need to do. In my case, some of my contracts require legal services. Well, I can't afford to have a lawyer on staff. Some of my clients require actuarial services. I can't afford to have an actuary on staff, and I don't have enough demand to keep an actuary on staff. So I subcontract those services. So as you read the scope of services and there are certain things you don't do, you need to find other vendors that you can subcontract with. So instead of being the subcontractor to a larger firm where they won't respect you, they won't give you any much money, or they might say, look, I'm going to give you $50,000 or whatever, 10% of the value of the contract, and I need you to go away. I don't even want you involved in this, because that's what happens, even though sometimes the agency doesn't know that. So instead of you being the small business or the subcontractor, you can still be the primary contractor, and you bring along experts and say, this is why I can compete with the larger corporations. I have an attorney from one of the largest law firms in the state. I have an actuary from one of the most largest actuarial firms in the country. I have this, I have that. So even though they're not on my staff, they're part of my team, and this is what I'm bringing to you to compete with the other agencies, or competitors. So that's how I've been able to win some government contracts. I always make it a point, as much as possible, to speak to the team that's going to be servicing the account or managing the account once you win the account. Try to have as much negotiation or discussions with your city commission or public official that's part of the project that you're going after, and get a pulse and see how they feel about supporting small businesses, advocating for small businesses, advocating for a selection committee that's going to be diverse, that's going to be willing to pitch for and support a small business through the selection process. Is there another slide there? No? Okay. Because one of the things I had on my other slide was the key people. Let me look at my PowerPoint. The key people that you need to know. The city manager, if it's a city, or if it's a county, the county administrator. You need to know the elected officials. You need to know the procurement director, who's going to be on the selection committee, if possible. A lot of times they don't want to tell you that because they don't want to interfere. And then you have to understand that there's a cone of silence in a lot of these RFPs. What is a cone of silence? A cone of silence is you can't talk to anybody from the start of the RFP being issued until the contract is awarded. So you have to have all your conversations prior to the RFP going out. And that's why it's so important for you to have this spreadsheet that you create, or your database, so you know, okay, or in Miami-Dade counties, they let you know online when the next RFP is coming out. So 6 months before it comes out, or 6 months, really a year before the contract expires, you want to start having those conversations. What's your level of satisfaction with your current vendor? Would you be inclined to renew with this vendor if the choice was yours and not within the selection committee? What additional services are you looking for that's not in the current contract or scope of services? Do you intend to expand the scope of services on the current RFP? So, buying from the government is a lot different than buying in the private sector, which is why Miramar and some other cities will do seminars like this, because the process and the approach is very different. The cone of silence makes it very difficult to contact or talk to. Really, you're not supposed to any key people. And so you really have to do your homework up front. Now, the benefit of having a government contract is the stability. In an economic environment like this, where a lot of private corporations are letting people go or furloughing people, I've been personally impacted. Government agencies are the last groups of organizations to really have an impact that really hurt from financial impacts. And so having a baseline of some government agencies as clients is very key and critical, especially for small businesses, minority businesses, and Black businesses. A lot of companies have grown because I can say, I work with Miramar, I work with BSO, I work with all these large government agencies. So yes, private corporation with 1,000 employees, I can work with your firm because I'm already doing it on the government side. And so a lot of companies have been able to grow because they've had the experience of working with government agencies. But the key thing is to understand the process of buying in the government sector. And sometimes that means hiring a lobbyist. And so you want to, if you can't afford a lobbyist, because sometimes they can be very pricey, you want to talk to a few lobbyists, and some lobbyists are very effective in some cities and not effective in other cities or public agencies, and they'll tell you that. Some of them will be honest. And if you're not sure, then talk to the elected officials. And some lobbyists will agree to take a lower cost up front and then take payment if you win the contract, and others want payment up front. But you are going to be your best lobbyist, your best advocate, and by doing the research, the important market research, you know how to price and how to be competitive. And by looking at other winning proposals from not just one target, but multiple target cities or government agencies, you know how to design your proposal to make it a winning proposal. And then you just do your best. So it's a great thing. I have a few government contracts. I'm proud to work with the city of Miramar. Look forward to expanding with Miramar and other cities. But it's really something that we need to do, especially, minorities and Black-owned businesses. We rarely target the government as clients, and we really need to. It's a nice, stable source of revenue, of income, and a good base to build on in order to grow and expand your business. So
and that's what we're looking, and why we have you here.
Yes.
It was so important. You know how they say saving the best for last? There was no way. Really, thank you, Mr. Gelin. It's so important, and the project pricing is critical.
Yes.
I don't care if you're trying to get the services of a lawyer, an accountant, a lobbyist, a consultant, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that I often, and I tell people, even if it's a lawyer, as a micro business, I hope you heard what he says. If you're doing the solicitation process, ask for information. His presentation will be made available. That contact list that he talked about, he presented with us in our first webinar, and I believe his information is there. We will make that available to you. So I was trying to interject and let you know we have that information. We will be making it available to them. But whether or not you're trying to secure a lawyer, most larger corporations can pay 500, 200 hourly fees. As a micro business, what did you hear what he said? You can negotiate. Can you do this on a flat fee? Project pricing is huge from a standpoint of responding to a solicitation as well as team. If you know you need a lawyer, if you know you need a lobbyist, if you know you need a consultant, whatever you need, they're all saying the same thing. Build your teams. Be careful about strategizing and marketing and developing the solicitations in a way like Telena Paris says, where you tell your story well. You hear Mr. Gelin come back and say they use marketing tools. So you can get a marketing company. You can navigate all of these tools. We wanted to make sure that we give you a plethora of information that are sure to position you to succeed and grow your company. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mr. Gelin. It was so important for us to not only hear from state agencies, but we also wanted you to know that these are small, successful small businesses, because it's one thing to hear the Adriana, Clarke, and the Lawanda, Wright-Robinson, and the Karen Hollis say these things. We're agency employees, but you've heard the same from these small business owners, successful small business owners that are successfully in their craft, going above and beyond the call of duty. They're giving you their tools and tips to make those same opportunities available to you. Connections. We have a city manager here, Mr. Hargraves always says relationship, relationship, relationship. That's what you've heard Mr. Gelin say. And I can speak on behalf of the leadership of the city of Miramar. The panel of leaders in the city of Miramar, they're always open and available to speak to small businesses, which is why the diversity study exists. They answer your phone calls. They respond. The directors on down. And so this is an environment. I can't speak for every agency, but I can tell you here at the city of Miramar, They answer the call. They definitely respond. They're always open. Their doors are always open to small businesses. We are here for you. Even all of us working remotely, we're still available. We're still open. We're still doing all we can to try to position you to succeed. Well, believe it or not, we have come to the conclusion of our Bid Fit webinar series. I cannot thank the amazing myriad of panelists that have all partnered with us. We do have a certificate that we will be providing to each and every one of you because we want you to know how much we appreciate the fact that you cared enough to partner with us. So every panel member from our very first one in October, those that came November 5th, those that were here in September, as well as today's, you will get a certificate from the Business Inclusion and Diversity Program, which are under the Economic Business and Development Department. We want you to know, Mr. Mike Gelin, saving the best for last, each of you will receive a certificate of appreciation to let you know how much we appreciate you having partnered with us to provide information so that small businesses can grow, develop, get connected, and have an opportunity to thrive in the midst of this pandemic. I wanted to speed up and make sure because Telena Parrish, I need you. I heard you. I know it's so hard to interject. It's even more difficult to not allow. I have two people that have a wealth of information and love to share it with small businesses. And so I did want to have all of the panel members to have an opportunity. I did check in the, I don't have any questions, but if you do have any questions, we will be providing each and every one of their contact information so that you can follow up with them afterwards. And we had Mr. Drake. We're going to have his information for the insurance, bonding insurance, which we've made available on several other webinars, and that will be made available to you. But Ms. Telena Parrish, if you can just please come again. I need you to reiterate the information and that deadline so that we can ensure that these businesses take advantage of this grant that's been expanded. We did not believe we would be able to offer this information again today. Do we have Telena still on the line, Ms. Parrish?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, how are you?
And you had another follow-up. You thought I would forget. I told you I would get to you.
No worries. So yeah, just to reiterate, for all of those there, Wright-Robinson Consulting Firm, we are honored to partner with the Office of Economic and Small Business Development of Broward County in this effort of bringing the grant being disseminated to the small businesses. The huge announcement today is for anybody that's here on the panel, or for those of you who are out there listening, if you know a home-based business that is struggling during the COVID-19 pandemic time, this is an opportunity for them to gain access to the grant up to $15,000. You could have received PPP or EIDL, anything less than $100,000, you qualify for this grant. So just remember, between $5,000 and $15,000 of grant money, that means that you do not have to pay it back. Go on ahead and go over to the BrowardCares.org, apply for this grant opportunity. You do not want to miss this. And the follow-up that I wanted to give, and thank you, Mike Gelin, that was excellent information. I was over here just nodding. I don't know if you can even see me, but I'm like, yeah, I'm cheering you on over there, because he makes some really relevant points in regards to what you need to do and how you need to prepare for soliciting a government organization. One of the things I did want to mention too is LOIs and MOUs. So LOIs and MOUs are extremely important. LOIs are a letter of intent, and then LOS is, letters of support. You want to make sure that you mingle, you build your network, you get people that believe in your mission and vision just like you do, and have them write letters of support to help you. That can go in your packets for bidding and grant opportunities. Here at Wright-Robinson Consulting Firm, we write grants, we help people bid, we also do market research. And when Mike Gelin went to market research, I almost fell out my chair. I was like, oh, thank God. Yeah, somebody mentioned it, because you really need to know your niche and your market and who's going to be your end users, especially if you're pivoting your business. I just wanted to say thank you so much. The city of Miramar, you guys are always awesome. We are so glad. Always. Thank you to the rest of the panel. You guys are amazing. I learned some information today, and I'm always looking and willing to learn more. So I hope that we can all stay connected. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Not a problem. Thank you all again. You will definitely be receiving, again, a certificate of appreciation to each and every one of you. I cannot thank you enough. Thank you, small businesses, for tuning in. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your tenacity. Thank you for hanging in there. The SBA is saying so many businesses will not make it, but we see that you are not continuing to thrive, to survive, but you are now trying to thrive by accessing information to grow. That is the key that we believe, each and every one of us on this panel, that will position you to continue, and that's a sustainability factor that no one can take away from you. Get this information. Don't just put it in your database. We will be sending it to you. Respond, call them, apply, register as a vendor. I do believe we have a question in there. Let me see if I can get it before we end. Thank you all so very much. One of the small businesses says, yes, yes, yes. Amazing panel. We thank you all. I thank you all on behalf of the leadership of the city of Miramar. Please continue to be safe. Happy holidays as we end and conclude this year. It was a challenging year, but we're still standing. We're all here, and we look forward to being able, as the Business Inclusion and Diversity Process Program, to be able to offer additional services, webinars, conferences, and all of those things that we believe can help you get educated, stay connected, and be able to grow and thrive, not only amid this pandemic, but post this pandemic. Please keep safe. Thank you all again, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2021. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.